Good evening, Mike the MC, bringing another self-care video. Today I'm going to share with you from my perspective on the idea of relationships and marriage, because I was watching and hearing about people the other day talking about it at my work, and I thought, okay, maybe this is something I can bring about in my channel just for the being relevant. And I just thought, okay, I could put in some 2 cents today, so why not share some thoughts? It's my channel. But anyhow, I think I'm going to talk about, okay, the idea of the will and how bending the will to not just to each other, but to the marriage and the commitment itself, and how to help a relationship flourish and thrive again. And so this is really from my take on the situation, but I hope this video will find you well when you find it, and that if you could put it to good use. So let's get this topic started. Okay, so really, this is going to be from my perspective on how I see relationships through the idea of the will, right? So beyond being a Marian counselor from a faith perspective, okay, so from this, I'll just say from my background that, okay, with the marriage, there's a commitment to that as well, with the two people committing to the third part, which is God in the marriage, and to seeing how your relationship will flourish and be blessed, right? And to recognize when that's all in completion, how do the blessings come into your life from then on? Are you going to have a huge family, not have kids? Are you going to build businesses? Are you going to go write books, tackle the world? See, what is the accomplishment that your relationship will achieve through the work of God, right? And so this is where then I'll now draw in my pieces for the idea of the will here. And so considering, first I'll start off with God, where when the two people are coming together for the will of the marriage, right? That is a hard thing to do, especially in today's world and reality. You hear all these different ways of people getting behind each other, backstabbing, how to underhand, okay, if I divorce this person, I could get my finances, get the kids, etc., etc. But then you think about this just a little further. Okay, where was the discrepancy? Where was the issue? And so that's why I'm starting off with the first idea of the will to God, right? This idea of the commitment where, okay, are both parties willing to at least bend their will to God in this moment? Because if not, that is where I'll argue the marriage will ultimately fail at the start, right? There was something big here when it comes to people coming together, and not everyone is called to a relationship and marriage, right? The single life is very powerful as well. You can accomplish many things, because that's how my will is bending at this moment right now to God. And I'm doing so much, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. Now, that can change over time, of course, because we all go through life and our Lord will want us to tackle and accomplish different things. So I'm really coming from that perspective of religion, but also from a non-religious perspective. Okay, what do you feel called to do, and what are you willing to build with someone if you are feeling that you are going to make that commitment now, right? And with that commitment, bending the wills, both of yours, to this bigger thing, right? That has to be true and accomplished, right? Now, bending the will to each other, that's the other one I want to address, because people will say, okay, right, who's the leader? Who's the follower? How should we balance our feminine, masculine energy? Right. And I would argue in an ideal world, right, you have the 50-50. And I would argue, okay, perhaps where one person lacks some qualities, the other person can pick them up. And that is where the compromises come into play. The strengths from both people, the strength from left and right coming together and really doing something great as one couple, and that is a beautiful thing to see. And now I would argue, okay, it's good to be strong on both sides. It's good to validate and communicate with each other. Communicate your thoughts and feelings, what's going right, what's not going well, and talking them out. Really, conversation is a beautiful thing. So that's one avenue I will share with you as far as the wills coming together, right? And if one person is not willing to succumb to one person being right in one moment, see, that is where, okay, the other person you may have to recognize, okay, give that other person time to come back, be brave and willing to have a conversation about that. But if the other person you could tell is really starting to distance off, okay, give them some patience and time, and don't force a situation. Because I would argue a lot of breakups will happen because people are just jumping into each other's faces and being so impatient, arguing, I want this answer now, I want to know what's your thoughts and feelings right now. But really, the beauty of patience and space will allow, I would argue, the wills to heal and recover, and for that other person's will to come back to the other person in that relationship and couple. But then if it's so much too much for the other person to where they start looking around and start talking with other people, then the will from that other person really is drifting off in the different direction. And how are you going to get that back? And that, for me, I would say that sometimes you're just praying and you're hoping that that other person comes back, because now they're on their own adventure, their own scenario. And so you have to be strong in that and make that decision for yourself moving forward in the relationship, whether to stay committed or not be committed. And you see, it's all from my perspective on the idea of the will. Where does it lie? Where do you feel called to do what you got to do? And so for me, I'm called right now to do these videos, of course. My will is bent over to now sharing what I know through my classes, my life experiences, my talks with people, etc. So that way I can help you along the way through different situations. And so when you recognize, okay, maybe someone doesn't have their will in the same direction as you do, and they're trying to turn you in a different direction, see, there comes toxic manipulation as well. And you could say that's narcissistic behavior, bipolar, whatever the situation is from that other person. See, because I know what it's like to be used by the other person, the boss, in different situations and different companies, agencies. And so when your will, if you feel it's being targeted by somebody else to really change, not to enhance it to that commitment, but it's being pulled into a whole other way or being drifted apart, that other person's pushing you away, that's where you know you should leave the group and that commitment in that regard, because now it's becoming toxic. See, there's always two sides to the story, or arguably three, because there's the eye in the sky, right? God, right? But the thing is, he knows what's best for you too. And if you have to make that distance, that separation just for a moment with the will, try it out. Give yourself some space. And if the other person is still drifting away or trying to push you away, then I would argue that's where you have to defend yourself and say, okay, let me make the cut, separation right here before it gets too toxic for me and the kids, family, etc. And we'll peacefully resolve this. And that takes maybe over years or time, however this happens in your life. And so I just hope that wherever you feel in your situation right now, for how long you've been in it, to not be hard on yourself and to forgive and to love yourself, to remember, hey, you're giving it your best to that commitment. You had the idea in mind for that relationship to the will at the start. See, and maybe one person was drifting off. They lost the excitement. They lost the contentment in that relationship commitment. So pray for that other person to find it back in their life as well, so that way both sides are on the agreement again, and that you guys are both on the same path. And it comes back to being confident again in that relationship as well. So find things to do with each other to build that excitement and confidence back in your relationship as well. So that is for me, Mike the MC, to everyone, in the idea of the wills coming together, how they're aligning, disaligning, and how to really come back and bring the other person back in with patience and love. All right, everybody. Hope this video finds you well. Take care. Have a good one.